This is TWiT.
U.S. judge blocks Twitter's bid to reveal government surveillance requests. This goes back 6 years.
Twitter's been fighting for us, and we lost.
Yep. They wanted to do a transparency report that would include surveillance requests received from the U.S. government. A federal judge said that would harm national security. No, you can't do it. I can't knock that. That's the way it's supposed to work, right? I appreciate Twitter trying to fight for it.
I can knock it.
Well, but what if it does hurt national security?
Do I trust this government?
Yeah, I don't trust the government saying national security.
Well, okay. It's not the government, though. It's the
took
courts.
Edward Snowden to let us know what was going on.
It's the courts, though. Look, okay.
Yes, it's the courts, but the courts are stacked now, so I just don't know. My confidence in the system and in the courts has been purposely eroded.
And yet it is conceivable that it would damage national security to do this, right?
It could, but I'm not going to know now.
I think we can work our way around national security. I think we have solved those. I mean, it violates national security that we do not live in glass houses and don't have door locks, right? I mean,
yeah,
we have to make decisions about how far we want our privacy to extend and where we want the government. And I think the government, because of its power, the power to bring the state against a citizen, is so great. They really have to justify the ability to look into our lives to the extent that they can with election. So I think they're trying to make a case. I don't think the case they're been making is compelling. But if judges believe it, then we'll lose that.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, the theory is that you have a nonpartisan adjudication from somebody who's going to look at both sides and say, well, yeah, the government's made its case. This could potentially be damaging.
So what was the name of the judge? Let's look up the judge.
She was from the Northern California U.S. District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers, U.S. District Court for Northern California, which normally is a pretty liberal jurisdiction. But, I don't know this judge. Who is
Democrat?
She? Yes.
But, of course, Obama wasn't great with this either. And I'm an Obama fan.
No, she's probably an Obama appointment, I would guess. But
where does it say?
So
Obama appointed her.
So, but look, all we got is the system.
I know, but the system's being torn down.
Yeah.
So we just don't know. That's what my reflex now.
I guess you also have to weigh it against the public need. Is what Twitter is reporting in this transparency report important public information?
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because what does Twitter actually know about you? The only thing they can really report to the government is your IP. Everything else is
well, I'll give you an example.
Your identity. Look at what happened with the Saudi regime when they put agents inside Twitter to track who was behind certain accounts.
I'll give you an example from my own life. My daughter, this was several years ago. We've always had horrible troll problems. I don't know why. It's something I did, I guess. But my daughter, 10 years ago, maybe, a long time ago, she was a teenager, she was a kid, got what was essentially a death threat. And I wrote to Ev, because I knew him, and I said, Ev, can you help us? You got a kid, you got a daughter, you understand. No. So we were lucky. We found a Petaluma police detective who was willing to take on the case. He filed a subpoena. Mm-hmm. And using the IP information provided by Twitter, because they respond to a lawful subpoena, he was then able to get a colleague. He found the location. It was a Chicago ISP. He was able to get a colleague in the Chicago Police Department to subpoena the ISP and said, who was using this IP address at this time on Twitter? And they found it. It was a kid. The detective in Petaluma got the Chicago PD guy to go over to the kid's house, talk to his dad. That was the end of it. However, if it had been somebody who really did want to do the nasty things that this tweet said, the question that the police ask is, are you in fear of your life? And if you are, they can act on it. So that was a government request for information. Mm-hmm. I think completely legitimate. Now, I think that probably would have appeared in a transparency report as one of, we got 700 government requests this year and responded to this many of them. What does the public need to know that number? Is it important?
It's important for journalists who are trying to track what's happening, because it's not just things like your police request. It's also things like, not FISA necessarily, but
there might be FISA requests.
Uptick.
And that probably, it would be my guess that it's the FISA requests that Twitter wanted to reveal, and the judge said, no, you can't, right? Because those are national security interests. We're trying to get a terrorist, and we think we can get him, and the FISA court can even say, and Twitter, you cannot say anything about this request, because revealing the request will alert the terrorists to the fact that we're onto them. So that's national security, and that is, the Patriot Act does allow that. And so it may well be, we don't know, that the judge said, yeah, I'm looking at some of these, and some of these are that kind of FISA request, and it would harm national security to reveal the interest of the FBI in this person. I think that could be.
Way back when I ran local sites, the most common subpoenas we got were from police chiefs trying to find out the names of the unnamed police officers who were using our forums to complain about the chief.
Right. Obviously, that's not a good use of it.
That's not kosher.
And that happens. But the point is, you can't paint it all with one brush. There's a variety.
Right, but that's
and I don't think the transparency
you're trying to deal with.
But does the transparency report give you the information you would need to say, oh, I see what's going on here?
Gee, there's a lot of requests coming from police in New Jersey.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
You also, those transparency reports are designed to act as a canary in the for saying, hey, the government is. So basically, to say you can't do that, it stops journalists, it stops national security reporters from knowing.
It does. The Patriot Act does allow.
Yeah, I know. I saw this episode of The Good Wife. Goodness.
It's called a national security letter. But I think the law already says that Twitter can't report that in their transparency report. By the way, NLSs do not require prior approval from a judge. So the Patriot Act gives law enforcement some sweeping. This is the analogy that you want to pay attention to during this time. Because of 9/11 and the terror in 9/11, we gave law enforcement sweeping powers that were never then retracted. And here we are almost 20 years later, they still have those powers.
Right, so sunsetting is an important design element.
Well, and the Patriot Act does sunset, but it keeps getting renewed.
Keeps getting renewed, yeah.